The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to the University of Michigan School of Social Work PhD and MSW information session. I'm really pleased that you're joining us today to learn more about our program. My name is Erin Zimmer and I'm the Associate Director for Student Services. So I will be talking with you today, just do a little bit of housekeeping and then we'll launch into our session. We have a lot of information that we have to share today. We want to make it useful to you as well. So we're happy to take questions that you have. The way that you send us questions is by using the questions box on your dashboard. You can go ahead and type your question into the box. We find that it's really helpful for other attendees to be able to see questions. So we usually will respond to all. We have a staff member who's on today answering questions for us. But if you have a question that you would like a private response to, you can go ahead and type private in front of that question and we'll make sure that just you receive it today. This is a joint session, so this is our agenda. We are covering today both our doctoral program. Professor William Elliott, who is the director of the doctoral program in social work and social science, and also professor of social work here in the school, will be taking us through the information about our unique doctoral program. And then following that session, I will cover all of the information about the Master of Social Work program. So you can send questions in about either of those programs. As Professor Elliott is talking, if there are any questions that are coming in related to the doctoral program, I'll just cut in when there's time and send that question to him and he'll answer it verbally. You may also get a typed response as well from Cerise Carrington, who is on she works in our office and can answer questions in that way as well. So with that, we have a lot of content, so we are going to jump in. So I'll introduce Professor William Elliott, and he is the director, like I said, of the Joint Doctoral Program in Social Work, Social Science.
Next slide. Yeah, so as she said, my name is William Elliott, and I haven't been at the University of Michigan that long, about 1 year. It's my second year into the program. But I'm a director of the joint program, and it is a unique program in that, like most programs, this offer a solo social work degree, but in our case, we offer both a social work degree and a degree in one of the other social sciences, either anthropology, economics, political science, psychology, or sociology. But I do want to emphasize that we really are interested in people who want to study and are interested in participating in the social work field, and that want to have a deeper knowledge in a particular area or in methods from a particular field. So the primary interest is in students who are focused on social work, who want to get in-depth skills in either anthropology, economics, political science, psychology, or sociology. Next slide. Why the joint doctoral program? Interdisciplinary degree in social work and social sciences, opportunities to become involved in a range of research projects, active student participation, faculty and international reputations, wide range of job opportunities. But essentially, why a joint program might be, as I stated before, that you really want to get some in-depth, either theoretical and methodological knowledge in a particular area that will help you study your area of interest. And so if you're interested in doing a lot of qualitative work, maybe you go into anthropology. If you're interested in understanding cultural influences, anthropology would also be an area you would focus on. But if you're interested in understanding how economies work, maybe you go into economics. But it really is about being a social worker who believes they need an in-depth set of skills to better help their population. So that is the reason why I think you would go into a joint program, is to gain in-depth knowledge in a particular area of interest from another social science. Next slide. There are a plethora of research opportunities within the joint program. You can see the list on your screen, but there really are a multitude of other opportunities as well. One of the great things about coming and participating in a program like the joint program at University of Michigan is that there are many good departments that exist on campus that you have an opportunity to access. There are rich data sets that are kept here, like the panel study of income dynamics. that people do a lot of research on, and many other types of data sets, lots of centers to be involved in. And the faculty here at the school, University of Michigan School of Social Work, have rich research agendas and have active grant portfolios. And so they offer many opportunities for students to study in a wide variety of areas and do in-depth research. So, and not only you have access to, like I said, the social work faculty, but faculty in your own discipline, whether it be, economics or sociology or one of the five other disciplines. And so there are a ton of research opportunities here, which makes it really a great place to come and study at a PhD level. Next slide. There's also a vibrant opportunities for interaction with other students, working on areas you're interested in. One of the interesting things, you can see a doctoral student organization and other opportunities there. But like this year, one of the things that the school's doing, it's not just it's certainly not only a joint program activity, but around voting this year. They're doing a lot of activities around voting. We have a rich history of being concerned with issues of diversity and equality. And so there are many student groups and activities that students can get involved in to help foster that social work identity that they have. And these are just a few of them listed here. Next slide. Here again, I won't read to you the different positions that our faculty have, our students have gone into afterwards, but we are represented at many schools across the country. This is just a small sampling of the schools that our graduates have gone to. I will mention one just because I'm a graduate of Washington University in St. Louis, so I have to give a slight plug to them. But really, we're within schools across the country, and our graduates have become deans, provost, and taken on many other positions in society. So this is just a small sampling. Next slide. Not only do we, next slide. Not only do our students, you just go to the next slide too, and I'll talk about the two of them. So postdoctoral fellowships and also research position, which basically means that our students not only take up faculty positions, but many of them afterwards will go into prestigious fellowship positions or postdoctoral positions, and others will go into research positions. That could be at many different think tanks in Washington, D.C., but across the country. And so our students, our graduates, not only go into faculty positions, but they go into a variety of other positions. Though I must emphasize that we are mostly interested in our students changing the social work field. And since we have a joint program and not a standalone program, we really want to see our graduates find ways to have impact on the social work field. And so one way to do that is through faculty positions. But we also have students going into doing other areas as well. Next slide. There are some key elements to the joint program. A master's in social work, though you don't have to have a master's in order to enter the program. So we have a pre-MSW program where you can, if you're in a different discipline and you want to come in and get a PhD in a joint program, we will provide you with the coursework and class work to get a master's in social work. At the same time, you're getting your joint degree in social work in your other discipline. So that opportunity is there. If you come in with a social work degree already, it'll be streamlined and a little bit quicker, but the opportunity is there for you to do a pre-MSW as well. Then we have social work courses, social science courses, research internships, teaching experiences, and we're constantly reviewing and revamping our curriculum to make it a 21st century curriculum. So next slide. Length of time, since you are in a joint degree program where you get two separate degrees, it does take a little more time than a traditional standalone social work program. Our students typically graduate in 6 to 7 years. In a normal program, they might graduate in around 5 years on average. And so you can see that there's a little more time, but what you do get is the opportunity, once again, to strengthen your research skills and your theoretical knowledge in a social science discipline, which you don't get in a traditional standalone program. Next slide. Applying for admissions. Applicants must designate their desired joint social science and demonstrate their potential for a PhD study by providing the following materials to the joint doctoral program. I'm not going to read through those. I'll let you look at them. And then we'll go to the next slide, and then I'll talk a little bit more about this slide and the next slide. Next slide, please. So key admissions materials, personal statement, discuss your personal background, relevant life experiences. One of the things we're really interested in is knowing why you want to be a social worker. What's your passion? What area do you want to study, and what are the experiences in your own life that led you to having a passion for a certain population, a certain area of interest? And so we want to see that come through in your personal statement. And the best way is not just to simply say you have a passion, but then also demonstrate through your life experiences and through your academic experiences, educational experiences, and your volunteer experiences, how you've lived out that passion in your life, and what are the steps that have led you to wanting to study a particular area. I should also mention we're also very interested in that you want to be a social work scholar. I mean, this is a research program, so what has drawn you to wanting to do research, and what are some ways in which you can demonstrate your experience in doing research? On the previous slide, it mentioned GRE scores. Since this is a common question, I'll say it here. We're not as focused on GRE scores. It is something you have to do in requirement. But if you have low or high GRE scores, you still can get admitted to our program. We're more interested in the holistic application. So all the things, all your materials, looking at your experiences, your passion, the education that you've had, and looking at the total sum of your application and not just GRE scores. So I think that is exciting, and it's probably why we have a very diverse applicant pool. We tend to admit a very diverse class of students because we're interested in what you can bring to the field, not only through your academic prowess, but also your commitment to social work and changing the lives of disadvantaged people in populations. Next slide. The application deadline is December 1st. Applicants are notified decisions by early March, and we usually admit 8 to 9, though it's been pretty consistently 8. One thing I'll say about that is because we're a joint program, we'll typically offer maybe 2 seats to psychology, 2 seats to sociology, and 1 seat to anthropology. But my point is, while we offer 8 seats, in some ways it's even more competitive because you're applying not only to the social work program, but to a particular discipline, and each one of the disciplines gets a certain number of the 8 seats. And so that is somewhat unique to our joint program. Next slide. We do offer quite a, I don't know, fair or we provide a lot of financial help, not only with regard to your funding packages, but also while you're here, there are many opportunities for additional grants, internal grants that you can apply for, and awards that you can apply for that are monetary in nature, that help support your research and your work throughout the program that aren't listed here. And Todd, one of our staff, has a whole laundry list of awards that a student can get here, which is unique to Michigan because many schools don't offer that those extra opportunities. In addition to that, given the amount of research that faculty are doing, you have the opportunity to be hired on as either a temporary assistant or a more full-time assistant GRSA position. So there are lots of opportunities for funding, but we offer all students receive 5 to 6 years of funding packages through fellowships or program-related employment. But I just wanted to mention that there are many other opportunities to get additional funding beyond the stipend in the 6 years of funding that you get, 5 to 6 years of funding you get in your immediate package. Next slide. I guess that's it for me. If you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them. Thank you.
Thank you, Willie. Actually, nope, we don't have any specific questions that came in, but if anyone does, definitely reach out to the doctoral program and they would be happy to answer them, and thank you very much. All right, we are going to transition now to talk about the MSW portion of our school. Again, my name is Erin Zimmer. I'm the Associate Director for Student Services, so I'm going to talk to you about our MSW options. This is pertinent information to anybody who's thinking about the doctoral program who is pre-MSW, so you would be completing these concentrations as well. If there's anyone out there who's thinking about the doctoral program but is interested in pursuing an MSW if they are not admitted to the doctoral program, we usually recommend that students apply to both programs simultaneously by the December 1st deadline. And what happens is we work cooperatively with the doctoral office. They let us know if they're not going to be admitting a student, and then we can fast track that application. Usually it's somewhere toward the end of January, early February, and so we review those. And it's really not detrimental to a student to not be admitted to the doctoral program. Many of the students do end up being admitted to the MSW program, and we can talk with students about opportunities they might take while they're an MSW student to try to enhance their research portfolio, for example, so that they may make themselves a better candidate for the doctoral program down the road. So that's just a piece I wanted to mention. Our MSW program is pretty specialized. Students like that they're able to come and really sort of shape the program according to the kind of work that they want to do. The social work profession is a large profession. The commonality is that we're really focused on helping socially and economically disadvantaged populations. But there are many ways we can do that work on many different levels and a lot of different issues and populations that we're serving. So we have practice methods and practice areas. Students declare this at the time that they're applying to our program. So in terms of methods, we have community organization. If you're interested in learning how do we enter communities respectfully, how do we mobilize communities for social or political action to make change at that level, you may want to focus in that particular area. Let's just see here. Okay. We have interpersonal practice, which is if you're interested in doing direct practice work, if you're interested in learning how to do counseling, assessment, treatment planning, diagnosis, case management, referral, interpersonal practice really encompasses all of those different things. So that's a focus that's possible. That is a large percentage of our student body here is interested in working directly with their client population or perhaps small groups. We have management of human services. If you're somebody who's interested in maybe the behind the scenes work in a nonprofit, you want to run a program, you want to develop interventions, you're interested in actually being the person who runs the nonprofit so it can provide a social service. You're dealing with budgeting issues, you're dealing with maybe supervising staff, working with a nonprofit board. Maybe that's the right fit for you. And then we have social policy and evaluation. So somebody might be interested in doing policy development, analysis, implementation. This can be at the organizational level, city level, state or federal level. A policy that's really impacting our vulnerable populations is what we often look at. Or we have students that are interested in more sort of the evaluation side, so they want an intense focus on how do we learning how to measure how effective programs are in the services that they're hoping to provide. Sometimes we have students interested in multiple methods. It's pretty common. That might be a student that really would benefit from having a practice method minor. That would require you to take a couple of courses in the other method, and some of the internship work that you do would then be devoted toward getting skills in that minor method. So it's an option. You certainly don't have to do it. Sometimes students don't because they would like more depth in just one of the methods, and that's perfectly fine way to approach our program as well. But there is an opportunity for a minor. We have areas, so I always think of the method as sort of the level of intervention you want to be trained on, and then the area is the population or setting you'd like to apply that skill set to. So we have students very passionate about aging, working with or on behalf of the aging population in a variety of settings. And so that's a strong area of focus here at the University of Michigan. We have children, youth, and families and society, which includes things like school social work, working in juvenile justice settings, child welfare, adoption, foster care, empowerment programs maybe for children or teens. College readiness programs might fall into this area, so a lot of variety. It's a big area. It's our second most popular practice area we offer. We have community and social systems, which is a nice fit for somebody who's interested in sometimes big change efforts. They're interested in examining issues, large social issues like racism or poverty, immigration issues. They're interested in prison systems, domestic violence. Global social work often fits well with community and social systems. We have a health concentration. If you're interested in maybe being a medical social worker, you want to work in a community health setting, hospice, hospital, that could be the right fit for you. And then mental health, which is our most popular practice area now. If you're somebody interested in perhaps doing direct practice work around mental health, doing counseling work, referral advocacy, you could be interested in changing mental health policies. Again, you can work on any level with these areas, but those are all the offerings we have in terms of methods and areas. We have a lot of additional ways that students can focus, so I'll talk a little bit more about that. But these are the basic choices that you make when you're applying to the program. While I'm thinking of it, I'll just let you know your admission decision really is not based on your practice method or area. It's good to just chat with admissions counselors if you're not sure where your interests fall in the curriculum. People change their minds sometimes after they get admitted, so we're open to that. We do try to catch your change as soon as we can so that your courses are in line with the new area, and also that your field placement is in line with the way you're going to focus. So. We have different curriculum schedules, so this gets at how you do the program in terms of timing. You can see there are a lot of options here. We do have an advanced standing option for somebody who's entering our program with a Bachelor of Social Work degree. This allows the students to complete their degree in just 45 credits rather than 60 for students who do not have a BSW and are eligible for advanced standing. Advanced standing students essentially are bypassing foundation courses. They are required to have at least a 3.5 GPA over their last 60 to 75 semester hours for advanced standing, so we'll calculate that. And advanced standing students start in September and graduate in August, so it's 3 semesters, usually straight through, of classes and fieldwork together combined. We have a 16-month option. This is our most popular option for students. You do not have to have a BSW in order to select this option. With this program, students begin classes in September and they're enrolled through the following December. So it's just 1 semester past advanced standing. There is also full enrollment in the spring-summer semester. Our 16-month students in general are beginning the program with just courses, and in the second semester they begin going to their internship along with classes, and they do that for the duration of their last 3 semesters. Our 20-month option looks sort of like a traditional undergraduate schedule. Our students are enrolled beginning in September, so they're enrolled in fall and winter semesters. So they finish their first year in April. They take the spring-summer off, and they come back and do another fall and winter semester and graduate in the second April. With this option, students are starting field and classes together in the first semester, and they always would be doing field and classes. They would never have a semester without field. It's the same amount of field as a 16-month student would do, but students in the 20-month option would actually do their field hours over 2 sites rather than 1 in the in the 16-month program. So we don't necessarily see any difference in terms of employability. It's often personal choice as far as whether somebody would pick 16-month versus 20. Sometimes there are particular areas of study that lend themselves better to one or another, so we can certainly talk you through what makes sense. If somebody's interested in being a school social worker, for example, they probably need to follow the 20-month schedule because it doesn't require a lot of summer work. We have an extended degree program. This essentially allows students to begin the program on a part-time basis. And then they, when they reached 15 credit hours toward the program, they would have to start doing some field internship work. When they reached 30, or half of the program, they would have to finish as a full-time student. So it's an option that sort of starts you off slow and eases you then into the full-time study. On our website, you can see the different sort of models that students might select from, and we can talk through this as well. Sometimes we have students that just do an additional term option. So an advanced standing student adds on a semester, but they're still doing 45 credits, or a student in the a student who's doing 60 credits maybe does it over 5 terms instead of 4. This allows students to slow it down, the program down a little bit, rather than maybe taking 15 credit hours a semester. They would take more like 12. So we could talk with students about that if somebody had a need for it. We do have students that complete our Master's International Volunteer Program. Essentially what they would do is they're completing the MSW and the Peace Corps volunteer service together. So they come and do 2 semesters of the MSW program with classes and field work. They leave and do 27 months of Peace Corps, and then they return to finish their MSW. So it's a nice option for somebody who's already thinking about Peace Corps in their future. And finally, we have our MicroMasters MSW program, which is fairly new. We started our first cohort this fall. So this program is a good option for somebody who does not have a BSW, who has worked in the field of social work or human services for at least 3 years. So they have a pretty nice foundation working in the field. It allows students to do the foundation courses through self-paced online learning. So there's courses online, the MicroMasters certificate. And then students would have 45 credit hours remaining, and they would complete their MSW degree here in residence on campus, and they would complete that in either 3 terms, sort of like an advanced standing student, or they could spread it out up to 6 terms, depending on what their needs were for the program. So that program, because it has the online portion, there is some savings. So what we do is, if somebody's interested in the MicroMasters MSW, the first step is to have them send us their resume, so we can make sure that they meet the minimum work experience requirement before they would proceed on maybe to apply to that program, and certainly probably before they would take any classes online. Okay, so several curriculum schedules. There are many special programs here. These programs allow students to sort of refine their interest a little bit more. Special programs are something that you can apply for as you're applying to the MSW program. They're housed in the financial aid section of the application. So special programs are in a particular area of study. So you still have a practice method and area, but a particular area of study, they will have a specific field component or some agencies we might work with when you're in these scholarship programs, and then they have some funding connected with them that is helpful for most students. So the Child Welfare Scholarship Program, like it sounds, is focused in on issues of child welfare, child abuse, neglect, abandonment, foster care. Students in this program are focusing in children and youth, but they could be interested in any method to team up with it. We have the community-based initiative, which is in Detroit. So students who are interested in macro work and also a community and social systems concentration, they're really passionate about work in Detroit and Southwest Detroit, should think about this option. We have the Detroit Clinical Scholars Program. This program allows students to do direct practice and mental health focused work in Detroit. So somebody really passionate about working with youth and adolescents in urban settings is what this scholarship program supports. Let's see, so the Geriatric Scholarship Program, if you're passionate about working with or on behalf of the aging population, you might want to think about that. The Geriatric Scholarship Program is neat in that it allows students to actually rotate and try out at least two different field placement sites while they're in the program. We have the Global Activities Scholarship Program. This is a nice option for somebody very passionate about global social work, you'll do a Michigan-based internship in your first 2 semesters. It'll have a global focus, so maybe you're working with immigrant populations or refugees, and then in the summer semester you would be going abroad. We work with many countries, many different types of internships. You can be in really any concentration, except you can't do interpersonal practice and mental health and be a global activity scholar. The level of clinical work we do as social workers in the U.S. is different than outside of the U.S., so it doesn't support that concentration, but any others. If you're really interested about global opportunities, we have an entire Office of Global Activities here in the school that you can explore. We have 2 HRSA Scholars programs. They're actually sister programs to the Detroit Clinical Scholars. They're federally funded training programs. So the HRSA Integrated Behavioral Health and Primary Care Training Program is a nice option if you're interested in doing clinical work. Your internship is with Wayne County Community Mental Health. This is true for both of these programs, and also true for the Detroit Clinical Scholars Program. Wayne County Community Mental Health Authority has about 70 provider organizations, so there's a lot of variety in terms of where you might be placed. But the HRSA programs expand beyond clinical scholars to include work with adults. And with the integrated health, it's really looking at this blend of physical and mental health together. You can see the second HRSA Scholars Program, which is brand new. The grant was just received by our school. Focuses in specifically on opioid use disorder and substance use disorders. So if you're interested about those issues and mental health, it might be a nice fit for you. We do have an integrated health scholarship program that happens through the University of Michigan or Michigan Medicine hospitals where the internships happen. Again, this blending of how are we responding to mental health needs as we have patients encountering physical health issues potentially. They may also be encountering mental health issues as well, the reason that they're being seen at the hospital, but it's really about providing holistic care. We have the Jewish Communal Leadership Program. If you're interested in Judaic studies and you would like to combine that with your MSW degree, this program is additional 15 credits above the MSW portion, so you can get a foundation in that area, and you can really be interested in any concentrations, but obviously a passionate interest in working within the Jewish community. National Community Scholars Program allows students to do community-based work, sort of like the Detroit Clinical Scholars Program, the Community-Based Initiative Program. But these students actually get to go and do an internship outside of Michigan in the summer semester. So they are in places like Chicago, Mississippi, San Francisco. We've had students also in Colorado, Washington, D.C., so you might want to think about that. There's a new leaders in African-centered social work. It blends with any of our concentrations, but if you have a passion for working with or on behalf of the African American population and you really want to develop additional competency in order to do that, you might want to think about that scholarship program. So all of these that I've mentioned so far, again, you're applying for them as you are applying to the program. Most all of them follow the 16-month schedule. The Detroit Clinical Scholars and the 2 HRSA Scholars programs do allow students to still be advanced standing students. So you can go ahead and apply and see if you're selected for these programs. We do have students who apply for multiple scholarship programs. That's fine. Just make sure that you really do your research and understand the differences between the programs and write a strong essay for each of them. Make sure that your deep interest comes across in those essays. The last one, Master's International Volunteer Program, I mentioned on a slide earlier, where you're really involved with the Peace Corps along with the MSW. You want to apply to the MSW program first, and then make sure that you're applying at least by September in your first semester to the Peace Corps. You have to be admitted into the Peace Corps and pass all clearances, including medical clearance, in order to go and do that work. So a lot of special program options here, but these really enhance the degree, and students do like being in sort of these nice sized cohorts within the program. We have certification programs. So sometimes our students, I mentioned earlier, are interested in being school social workers. Sometimes they're interested in adding some aging content. A certificate in child welfare is an option. You could be focused in this area. You could be focused in a different area, but want to bring these certificates onto something you're already studying, and that's perfectly fine. A certificate in global social work. We have a management of human services certificate as well. So each of these will utilize electives in a different way. They might have a field component to them as well. We do advising as students are applying. We also help advise students as they're making their way into the program. So we can talk with students and help them make decisions on how to best utilize their electives while they're here. We have several dual degree programs. So some of our students assess their career goals and really determine that they need or would want to pursue multiple advanced degrees at the same time. Classes often will cross count, so you do less credits than if you were to do them separately. And so you can see we have partnerships with the business school, so you can get an MBA, MSW, a partnership with the School of Information, with law, public health, that's our most popular dual degree, public policy, it's the second most popular. We have urban planning, and then we also have students that do self-initiated dual degrees. So they look at programs that offer a terminal master's here at Michigan and apply to that school as well, and then become a joint student. Some that I've seen over the past, education's pretty common, and I've seen students do natural resources, for example. So you could talk with us if you're interested. You certainly don't have to go to the full extent of a dual degree if you just decide you're interested in taking some courses, for example, just getting some exposure to the other discipline. That's something that you can also do with electives as long as it's a graduate level course. I keep mentioning field placement, so I just wanted to reiterate that that's a really important component of an MSW degree. About a quarter of the credit hours that you're completing for your degree are actually applied field hours. So our advanced standing students will complete 684 hours, and our students who are in the 60 credit hour program complete 912 hours. So there's a lot of applied work that you're going to be doing. We have over 550 different field sites that we're utilizing. Most are in Michigan within sort of a 45-mile radius from Ann Arbor, where we're located. We have national placements. We have international placements that students sometimes take part in as well. Students do participate. They need to be active in the field placement selection process. So students will submit a resume and a goal statement. They'll look through the database and rank the sites of interest to them. They usually will talk with a field faculty member who's going to be assisting them in the placement process. They will interview at the potential field site to make sure that it's going to be a nice fit mutually. So most of our students, if they're doing one placement, they would just do an interview one time. Sometimes students are, if they have multiple placements, obviously interviewing more than once. If the interview didn't seem like a good fit on either side, the agency or the student, then you would do an additional interview. But most of the time, the first interview turns out to be your field placement. And the placements are rather specialized, so your method and area help designate which types of placements you might be in. Each placement is categorized according to a method and area. Some of them accept multiple kinds of students in their placements, but you'll have competencies that you're supposed to complete in field based on your methods and areas. So this is one reason why it's important when you try to get a good sense of what kind of training and work you're interested in so that your field placement can be supporting that. All right, so that was a lot of curriculum information, a lot of choice here. As you come into the program, people tend to really like that, but I understand it can be a bit overwhelming too, so we're happy to talk with you about your options. I'm going to jump into the application process, so we can I can share some information about that. So the online application has been available since late August, so we are receiving applications now for beginning fall 2019. Most everybody will complete the application online. If you have a compelling need to do a paper version, you can. You can talk with us if you have any concerns about that. The question about when should you apply, the earlier the better is really the sort of advice. December 1st is our official early deadline. If you're able to apply by December 1st, we will give you a decision by March 1st. We do have a rolling admissions process, so we are making admissions offers as we review. So there is more space earlier in the process, so it's beneficial for you to be an early applicant. You don't want to rush your application, but certainly don't wait to apply right on December 1st. If you can be submitting your application before that, it's helpful in order to do that. February 1st, I have a notation there. If you're somebody thinking about the MicroMasters MSW, and you have been approved in terms of having enough experience, February 1st is the deadline for that group. We may consider an application after that, but we would want to talk with you first, or we want to give students enough time to go through the admissions process and be admitted, and then be able to take the courses before the June deadline to complete them. So that's why there's an earlier deadline for February for that group. March 1st is our final deadline. If anybody's applying as a student without a bachelor's degree or non-BA program, or if someone is applying as an international applicant, so our non-BA process is a longer review process. For our international applicants, we need time to process visas for them. So that's why we have an earlier deadline. And August 1st is our final deadline each year. So as we move through the admissions process, we have filled the class, as we're going. So it does become a little more difficult to be admitted. But if you're catching the cycle a little later, we still encourage you to apply, and we can certainly talk with you about sort of where we are in our admissions process. These are the components to the admission, the criteria, what we're evaluating. So I'll drill down in each of these, but we are looking at personal characteristics of our applicants. We're looking at recommendations, the supplementary statement that you provide, your human service experience, and then your academic background. So in terms of personal characteristics, we like to have a very diverse student body. So through the review process, we look at things like bilingual skills, maybe you're able to serve different populations. We look at your resume and your whole application for commitment to social action and advocacy. We'd like to have students who come from different geographic locations. We're situated in Michigan, so we have a lot of, obviously, Michigan students and students from the Midwest. But we like to have students coming from different places. So when we maybe have international students or students from California, New York, the South, that might be something that we note in your application. We have students at career change, so you've had success in another field. You bring a unique perspective. We value that. Strong commitment to social work values is obviously important. We note if you worked as an undergraduate, that may mean you had less time to do volunteer work or internships potentially if you needed to work. And so it's something that we note in your application. Your recommenders will tell us about your personal qualifications when they complete a form for you. So we're looking at how you demonstrate sensitivity, responsiveness in relationships, adaptability, integrity, all things that are important for social workers to be skilled at. Continuing, personal characteristics. Many of our students are motivated to be social workers because of life experiences they've had. So we value that insight that someone has. I think it's really important that your essay communicates your interest in the kind of work, professional work that you want to do for others, and really highlights work you've already done. So make sure that that comes across. We like to have social workers focusing in different areas. We don't want all of the same types of students in terms of concentration. So if there are areas of shortage that you're interested in, like macro areas, aging, child welfare, for example, we would note that in your application. And strong interest in multicultural social work is something else that we note. So a lot of different things we're evaluating in personal characteristics. Recommendations are very important. You'll need 3 of them. We hope to see a combination of both academic and professional recommendations if possible. It's not a requirement, but that's the best combination a student can submit. They can do this application through the online system. You will complete, you'll put their information in, you'll put their email address in, the system will prompt them to complete it. So on that, the information we get, we will see, did they highly recommend you, did they note concerns, did they not recommend you? We look at how they evaluated you in those personal characteristics. We note how long have you known them? What's the relationship? So were they a professor? Were they a supervisor? It's not required, but we do hope that they can include a narrative to talk more about you and why they're recommending you and why they think you're going to be a good student or good social worker. That's helpful. So 3 recommendations. The statement is a supplementary statement that you write. It is a 3-page statement. And so we're using it for a variety of reasons. We have 4 questions that we have you answer. We have you talk about a social problem you'd like to address, and if you had the power and resources, what would you do to address it? We have you talk about your personal and intellectual qualifications and experience, and why you think you'll be successful as a social worker. We have you talk about your concentrations. So which method, which area did you choose, and how does that connect to the work that you want to do? And we have you read a section of the Social Work Code of Ethics and react to that. So we're looking at the quality of your content, your critical thinking about these social work topics. Did you answer all questions? We look at that. The grammatical quality, excuse me, in social work education, we write a lot. So we want to make sure that students have the writing skills that we think are necessary to be successful here. There are also scholarships that are committees that may be reviewing your essay. If you apply for any of those special programs, they may look at this essay too to look at your interests. So it's really important to be thoughtful about that as you're writing your supplementary statement. We look at your experience. We really want to have a sense that you've been able to do some human service work, whether that's volunteer work, internship, or paid work. We do have a lot of students that enter our program straight from their undergraduate institutions, so we're not requiring that you have years and years of experience in the field, but we want to know that you do have a sense of what the work's going to be like, that you've had some success doing some of this work already. So in your resume that you'll provide and also on the application, you're going to let us know what experiences you've had, what types of experiences they were, how long you've been there, what kinds of tasks you had. So make sure that you are really comprehensive in filling that out for us. We look at your education. You're going to be a student first and foremost, so we're looking at what your background is. We do accept really any major into our program. So our most common come from social sciences or BSWs. A BSW is not the most common undergraduate degree, but many people do come from psychology or sociology or different area studies. But we're fine with a student who comes with a different background. You just have to have at least 20 credits of liberal arts coursework that span across 3 different disciplines. We could talk with you if you were concerned about that. You can see 3.5 is our average GPA of an admitted student. That's calculated on the based on the last 60 to 75 semester hours of coursework. That's not a required GPA unless you are applying for advanced standing, so we have discretion to admit a student above that or below that. For advanced standing, if you didn't meet the GPA and we had your final transcript, then we could review you just for the 60 credit hour program as well, so we do that always. If you've completed any graduate coursework, we would review you that GPA as well. It's not required that somebody has done graduate coursework before they come in. If you have research experience, that's something that we would take note of, especially if it were in an area related to social work. Again, research is not required as it is for the doctoral program application, but it's something you should definitely let us know about if you've done it. If you've done trainings or workshops or things like that, also that's helpful to know. So we're gleaning this information from a variety of pieces in the application, your transcript, your resume. Okay, so those are the pieces of the review. Every application is reviewed very holistically. We review each application twice, so they're independent reads, and then as a committee we will discuss each application to come to a decision on it. We make all our decisions or announce them all via email, so keep your eyes on your email. That's how we will correspond with you. You'll note that I didn't mention the GRE, so that is not a requirement for applying for the MSW program. It is for the doctoral program, and we don't use the GRE really for any review. Sometimes students ask if they can submit it. It's just not something that we would evaluate at all. All right, financial aid. We know that is an important sort of critical component to whether or not students attend our program. So when you apply to the program, make sure that you apply for financial aid. You don't want to wait until you've been admitted. Just do it simultaneously. There's a section of the application that is focused on financial aid. So you'll complete a basic form where you can tell us if you want to be considered for need or merit, and you can select both. At the graduate level, parental income is really not taken into consideration. So we find a lot of our students have greater need eligibility than they maybe had as an undergraduate student. So make sure that you let us know if you're applying for need and merit. I mentioned the special programs earlier. If you're interested in those programs, in the financial aid section, you'll check a box next to each one you want to apply to, and then that will require that you write an essay for each of those programs that you want to apply to. There are different deadlines for the special program. So the early decision or the early group is December 1st. There's another wave that will be reviewed in the February 1st group and then the March 1st group. I'll say that I think for most of the programs, they'll make the most offers from the early group, December 1st. So it's good to be in consideration for that. Your MSW application has to be complete at that date along with the special program application. So keep your eyes on that. Any student that's applying for any need-based grants or scholarships will need to complete a FAFSA application. This is also how you would apply for direct loans and work study, which would be distributed to you by the Office of Financial Aid at the Greater University. So make sure that you complete the FAFSA. It's available in October each year. And additional funding options, some of our students pursue graduate student instructor or graduate student staff assistant positions with the university. Usually these positions would take place outside of the School of Social Work, so in another department where you may have you have a background, so you could help be a teaching assistant, or maybe you have some prior experience that would allow you to be a good administrative assistant, so you could do graduate student staff assistant work. So that's the website to find those positions, but they are a very large compensation package. Students will have tuition covered in any semester that they have the GSI or GSSA. They would have a living stipend and also health insurance in that term as well. So it's something really to pursue. We find that about 75% of our students are receiving some grant and scholarship aid from our School of Social Work. Many of our students are funding their education through a combination of need-based funding, merit-based funding. Many of our students do utilize direct loans as well. So these are the options. Make sure that you apply for all of them and talk with us early if you have any questions or concerns about funding. This is the Office of Student Services contact information. So after today, if you have questions, please feel free to give us a call or send us an email. We are happy to set up either in-person or phone appointments with students to talk through the options, answer any questions that you have. We really like to have students come visit. So if you're able to do so, this is the website to schedule a visit. If you come on campus, we can arrange for you to sit in on a class in an area of interest that you have. We can have you tour the school and have lunch with a current student, and we can set up an admissions financial aid meeting for you. If you're not local, you're not able to do that, we have other options. You can see there's a Connect in Your Region section. We have staff members from our office traveling extensively this time of year, really all over the country. So hopefully we're coming to an area close to you so you can connect with us in that way. And obviously we're connecting online today, so that's another opportunity as well. I do appreciate you joining us today. We are excited about talking about the program, so please do follow up with us if you have any additional questions, and have a great day.